Hi everyone, this is Mehul Mehta and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this project series, we are trying to develop a new quant modeling project. So the name of the project is Modeling Yield Curves. So let me write the complete name of the project. So it is Modeling Yield Curves using. We'll be seeing certain mathematical models which are generally used to model yield curves such as Nelson-Siegel. So we'll be seeing certain models such as Nelson-Siegel. It is also called NS model. Then we have Nelson, Siegel, Stevenson. It is called NSS model. Then we have linear interpolation, and the last piece is cubic spline interpolation. If I have time, I'll also take into account monotone, monotone convex interpolation. So this is a proper quant modeling projects because even in the industry, when you will talk to industry folks, these are certain models. Like I know for the fact that people use linear interpolation, cubic span, monotone convex very rigorously. Nelson Siegel and Nelson Siegel Stevenson have been also used, but it depends on what kind of yield curve it is. But again, all these are very important models for all of you to understand. So we'll be seeing all this 4 to 5 yield curve modeling technique for our quant project. So before diving deep into the project, I just want to cover the basics, or you can also say the primer for this project. So this video will be just the primer, and then we'll see the Nelson Siegel and Nelson Siegel Stevenson. So first of all, what are fixed income securities? So even if you do not know anything, it is totally fine because I'm covering everything from basic, so it will help you to understand the whole project. So what are fixed income securities? So fixed income securities are nothing but investment instruments. Okay. Now just focus on these words: fixed income. What does this word signify to you? It basically means that there's something which has a fixed income, some security, right? Which has a fixed income. So similar is the definition for it. So fixed income securities are investment securities. So fixed income securities are nothing but investment securities that provide regular, predictable income. So when I say predictable income, I basically means that it gives you predictable interest payments and principal amount at the and principal amount. So just imagine, there is a security, so let's say there's a security A. So this security, we say that this is a fixed income security. So what does this mean? So when you buy this fixed income security, you are being assured that you will get some fixed income when you buy this security. Okay, so you will get some fixed income when you buy this security. So now let's understand with the help of an example how does this whole fixed income security works. So let's see our example. So let's say I say a 5-year bond, a 5-year fixed income bond pays 5% coupon annually for $1,000 or on $1,000 investment. Okay. So this is an example that I'm covering. So what does this basically mean? This basically mean that, okay, sorry, pays annually. Okay, what does this mean? This basically mean that you have a fixed income bond. There is a bond, okay? There is a security whose name is fixed income bond. So the security name is, so the security name is what? Fixed income bond. What is the whole tenure of the bond? It is 5 years. So length of the bond is what? 5 years. Okay, if you see, this is what? 5 years. And how much does it pays? It pays 5% coupon annually, right? It pays 5% coupon annually. Okay, so this is what is given. So and amount is 1,000. So let us draw a time t equal to 1, t2, t3, t4, and t5. So what this whole example means is every year you'll get how much? 5%, 5% you will get on the investment. So 5% of 1,000 is what? It is this amount, $50. So what this means is you will get $50 every year. Okay. And at the end of the maturity, you'll also get your payment back, which is $1,000. Okay. Is it clear to everyone? So, so when I say a 5-year fixed income bond pays 5% coupon annually, what does that mean? That the length or maturity of the bond is 5 year. Okay. And every year it will pay 5% of my investment. So my investment is $1,000. So 5% of it is $50. So it will pay $50 every year. And in the end, it will pay $1,000. So that is what it means by fixed income. If you see, what was our term? If you remember, the term was what? Fixed income bond, right? So why people say as fixed income? Because it is giving a fixed income. We know that we'll receive when you are buying this bond or when you are buying this in a security, you know that you will receive $50 every year, and that is what is it means by fixed income. Okay. So this is with the help of example. So I know like you might be thinking, how does this relates to yield curve modeling? Because the project name is modeling yield curve, and I'll just make sure everything is connected. But before going to the yield curve modeling, the primary, this basic thing is very important for all of you to understand. Okay. So now, as I said, bond, you might be thinking, because if you see in the example, what did I say? A 5-year fixed income bond. So you might be thinking, what is a bond, right? So let me cover what is a bond first. Okay. So what do you mean? What do I mean by bond? See, bond is nothing but a type of fixed income security. So bond is nothing but it is a type of fixed income security. Okay. That represents a loan. This is very important, guys. That represents a loan made by an investor to a borrower. And borrower and typically will be government entities. Okay. corporation, or municipality. So these will be different borrowers, okay? So basically what happens is, let's say we have government, okay? If you see our government, right? If they want to raise some money, if they want to raise some money, how can they do that, right? How can they do that? They can just issue bonds. They can issue bonds, okay? And who will buy those bonds? People like us, okay? Investors like us will buy those bond. So what will happen if we buy the bond? Okay. So when we buy the bond, so if you remember in this example, what was happening? We were paying the initial investment to the entity, right? We were paying how much? $1,000 we were paying. So what happens is, when someone, let's say government, want to raise some money, they'll issue certain bonds. So what happens is, investors like us, we will pay upfront some money. Let's say $1,000 we pay to the government. Okay, and in return, what will we get? We'll get what? 5% coupon annually. Okay, plus whatever money we have invested, we'll get the same money at maturity. Okay, so we'll get $1,000 back again at maturity, and again this will have certain time frame. So let's say our bond is 5-year bond. So basically, or let's say a 10-year bond. So what it basically means is that we are giving our money, which is $1,000, to the government for 10 years. Okay, for 10 years we are giving the money $1,000, and in return, what will government do? They will pay us 5% of our money, which is $50 every year, and in the end, it will pay us what are the initial investment that we have paid back to the government. Okay, is this concept clear to everyone? It means by bond? What does it means by bond? So going back to our definition, bond is a type of fixed income security that represents a loan. Why it represents a loan? Because governments want a loan. Government wants a loan, and that's why they are issuing a bond, and investors like us will buy those bond and give certain money to the government. And in return, what will government do? Government will pay us coupon, and this coupon is nothing but the fixed income. This is nothing but a fixed income. So now, is this concept clear to everyone? Okay. So the question is, why fixed income securities are important? Why fixed income securities are important? If you do not know this, you might be thinking stock market is the biggest financial market, or derivative market is the biggest financial market, crypto is the biggest financial market. You might be thinking this, but actually, if you ask me, in United States, in USA, fixed income is the biggest financial market, is the biggest financial market. And that's what and that's why it is very very important to understand what is this fixed income market. And one of the core concept of this fixed income market is yield curve, which will see in some time. Okay, so why fixed income securities are important? Of course, because it is the biggest financial market, so that's what makes it important. Also also for investors, if you see from an investor point of view, it gives the investor like us, reliable income. Okay, or you can say a stable income. It gives investors like us a stable income. It helps for issuers perspective, like government entities, right? It helps them to raise funds. Okay, helps them to raise funds. for any projects that they are that is undergoing, or any other thing. Okay. And for economies, it basically help the economy grow. Okay, but just to make sure you understand this, that for fixed income, it's like the biggest financial market in the US, and we all know that all the economies are, interconnected. So that's why studying fixed income becomes very important. From an investor's point of view, it helps us get a stable income, and that's why if you see, the name is fixed income, which is a stable income. We know what is the amount of income we will get if we buy these securities. From a issuer perspective, it helps them to raise funds, so that's a really good thing, because otherwise, like, how will they raise funds, right? So this whole game, or this whole fixed income market helps them to raise a lot of money, which can be further utilized for any government projects that they are undergoing. Okay. So now, few key features I want to highlight of fixed income. So first is, fixed income investors are paid before the equity investors if the issuers face financial distress. Okay. So this is very important for all of you to understand, that fixed income investors are paid before the equity investors. Okay. If the issuer face any financial distress. And that's why, the fixed income becomes a very safe investment. Okay. Second is, securities have different lifespan. Securities have different lifespan, so you can invest accordingly as per what you are looking for. So you can invest your money accordingly. Some might think that, okay, I just want to invest the money for 1 year, right? Whereas some might think that, oh, I can invest the money for 5 years or 10 years, right? And some might think that I can invest the money for 30 years. So accordingly, there are different fixed income securities, okay, which we will study. There are different fixed income securities based on years, based on what is the length of the investment. So there are different fixed income securities, and accordingly you can select which fixed income security to buy. Okay, depending on what length you are looking for your investment. So this was the second most important point, and one of the most important point is regular income. That is what basically investors receive periodic periodic interest payment. What is this interest payment? It is nothing but coupon. So you will see every fixed income, every fixed income security will have certain coupon attached to it. It can be 2% coupon being bond, or it can be a 5% coupon being paying bond, or depends on, it can be anything, 4%, 3%. Okay. So the good thing is, that, when you are buying the maturity, that how much money you will get at every interval of time, right? And also remember one thing, just want to cover. So in our example, I told that, okay, the money was being received annually, right? But then there are few securities which pays you semi-annual also, even monthly also, you know There are different fixed income securities which pay monthly payment, semi-annually payment, annual payment. So it's a big market. It's a very big market. Okay. So it's a very big market, but yeah, just wanted to make sure you understand these concepts. Now, coming to what are the types of fixed income, what are the types of fixed income securities? And after this, we'll study the yield curve. Okay. What are the types of fixed income securities? So I can say that government bonds, you have government or okay, so let me write in this way, right? Then let me write in this way. So we have, okay, so these are based on issuer. You see government bond, then you see corporate bond, you see municipal bond. Okay, so these are, just to make you understand, now if let's say government wants to, if governments want to, if they governments wants to raise some money, then they will be issuing government bond. Then again, they have like sub classification like treasury. So if you see government bond, they further have classifications. Okay, like treasury bond or sorry treasury. So treasury notes, treasury bills, and treasury bonds. So we have treasury bills, then we have treasury notes, then we have treasury bonds. So this is treasuries, TRASURY. Sometimes people write in this way. So let's say, what is treasury bill? If let's say the maturity is between 1 month to 1 year, okay, so if let's say government, okay, so government bond also, if government wants to raise some money, then you will look in, then the government will issue certain bonds which are known as government bond, right? Now depending on the type of maturity, right? If let's say if the maturity is between 1 month to 1 year, then they will issue what? Treasury bill. Similarly, if the maturity is between 2 to 10 year, 2 year to 10 year, then they will issue what? Treasury notes. And if the maturity is greater than 10 year to or somewhere between 20 to 30 year, greater than 10 year and a maximum up to 30 year, then they will issue treasury bond. Okay. So depending on, the maturity. So if let's say you want to invest your money for 20 years, then you will have to buy treasury bond. If you just say that I want to invest my money for 6 months, you will buy treasury bills. And similarly, if you want to invest your money for let's say 2 years, or let's say yeah 2 years, then you will buy treasury notes. You know. So is this concept clear to everyone? Just wanted to make sure like you understand all of this. Okay, perfect. So now let's move on to what is yield curve. Okay, let's move on to what is yield curve. Okay, so now let's move on to what is yield curve. And this is where, I why I gave you that primer, because now you will understand. Let me write the definition first. So what is a yield curve? Yield curve is nothing but yield curve is a graphical representation, or you can say it's a graph that shows the relationship between the yield. What do you mean by yield? Yield nothing. Yield means interest rates, nothing else. Okay, the interest rates of bonds and their maturities. So what is a yield curve? Yield curve is nothing but it's a graph. Okay. See, you might be see, the good part of being in finance is, the names that have been written or that have been given, they are given behind there's a lot of logic behind that. So if you see curve, what is a curve? If you see what is a curve, it is nothing but a graphical representation, or it shows the relationship between between the yield of the bond and their maturities. And if I would have start the whole project from here, the first question that I would have got is, okay, what is mean by bond, right? What does it mean by yield of a bond, or what does it mean by maturity? But now you know that. Now you know that. What does it mean by bond? If you see what does it mean by bond, it is nothing but, so we'll be looking, because in the project we'll be modeling the treasury yield curve, right? So in our in our project we'll be modeling the treasury yield curve, which is nothing but a government bond. Okay. So if you see, treasury is what? A government bond. Okay. It is nothing but the government bond. So now let me show you how the yield curve looks like. Okay. So let me draw this. So let's say something like this, right? So you have your maturities here and you have your yield here. Okay. So this is how a yield curve looks like. And this is what we will try to model using different mathematical models. Okay. So this is what we will try to model using different mathematical modeling piece. Okay. So this is how a yield curve looks like. We'll also take live data, so that you understand and appreciate it even better. So this is how a yield curve looks like. Okay. So what is on the x-axis? If you see x in the x-axis, what is the we have maturity. Now, what does it mean by maturity? It represents the time to maturity of a bond. It represents the time to maturity of the bond. If you remember, in our example, what did we take? We took a 5-year bond, right? Which basically means that the investment is how much for how many years? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 years, right? And you'll receive certain money every year, right? So again, so what is the maturity? It represents the time to maturity of a bond. So when I say a 5-year bond, the maturity of this bond is 5 years. When I say a 10-year bond, the maturity of the bond is 10 years. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So on the x-axis, you have maturity, and on the y-axis, you have your yield. What is yield? It is nothing but it represents the annualized return investor earns by holding the bond. Okay. So what is y-axis? It shows yield. It is nothing but it represents the annualized return investor earns by holding the bond. Okay. So just a quick exercise for all of you. Let's say I have a 2-year government bond and it is paying me 4% interest rate. So can you tell me what is the maturity here? Can you all put it in the chat? What is the maturity and what is the yield? Okay, that's correct. Maturity is 2 and yield is 4%, right? So similarly, if you see, similarly, if you see, 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 And you, okay, so good question is coupon. Okay, look, let's not mix those concepts. Okay, okay. So 2 year government bond, and 4% interest rate is not. It says that the maturity is 2 and the yield is 4%. And that's correct. Okay. So let me give you an example of how this curve has been constructed. How this curve is constructed. Okay. Let me give an example. Suppose, let's say we have these bonds. Okay. We have a 2 year bond that gives a 1% yield. Okay, so this is yield. Okay, so 2% bond gives a 1% yield. Oh, sorry, 2 year bond gives a 1% yield. A 5 year bond gives 1.8% yield. Okay, a 10 year bond gives 2.5% yield. Similarly, a 15 year bond gives a 3% yield, and a 20 year bond gives 3.5% yield, and a 30 year bond gives 4% yield. Okay, so how will you draw a yield curve? So similarly, we know how can we draw. We know that maturity is where, if you all remember, maturity is here and yield is here, right? So we'll plot all the maturities, which is 2 year, 5 year, 10, 15 year, 20 year, and 30 year. Okay. Similarly, if you see, let's plot the yield also. Okay, which is what, 1%. Let's say 1% is here, 1.8% is here. Let's say, okay, and similarly 2.5% is here, 3% is here. Okay, and then 3.5% is here, and 4% is here. Okay, just I'm just plot. So let's say 1%, 1.8%, then you have 2.5%, 3%, 3.5%, and 4%. So how will you draw the yield curve? Just you How will you draw it? Like this? Correct? Correct or not? Correct or not? Can you all give me a heads up if you understand this? How did we draw the yield curve? Okay, perfect. Okay, so a quick question asked is what is the difference what is the difference between a yield and a coupon? Okay, so what is the difference between a yield and a coupon? Okay, what is the difference between a yield and a coupon rate? Okay, see, always remember that coupon is a fixed interest rate on the face value. Coupon is fixed interest rate on the face value. So when I say on the face value, so when I say that I have a 5% coupon paying bond and the face value is 1,000, it basically means what? How much coupon will I receive annually? $50, right? This is what it means by coupon. But what does it mean by yield? What does it mean by yield? It is the return. Yield is nothing but the return that your bond will give to you. Okay, it is the return that the bond will give to you. Okay, is it clear? it is just nothing but this yield is nothing but the return that the bond will give to you. Okay, perfect. So let's look at different yield curve shapes. Okay. So just make sure you understand this simple thing, that this yield is nothing but it is the return. See, whenever you are looking at any investment, see, fixed income security is an investment security, right? You are investing your money. See, whenever you invest your money, what do you look at? The only thing that you look at is, oh, how much return will I get if I put this money into this security, right? Whatever investment you do, the most important thing is the return. And this is what is important for all the investors. Okay, so returns is simple, right? I mean, it tells you how much return will you get on your investment. Okay, and this coupon, it is nothing but it tells you how much money will you get. Okay, so this basically tells the income that you will get, but return is how much return will you get. Okay, so again, this can be a 5% coupon, it can be a 10% coupon being bond on $1,000, right? So here your coupon will be 100. So, but this yield and coupons are different. Okay, yield is nothing but more of a return. Okay, perfect. Okay, so just to make sure, yield is the actual return that investor gets. Okay, so now look at, so I hope this definition is clear. What is a yield curve? It is a graphical, or it shows the relationship between the yield, which is yield of the bond, and their maturities. So you will have different maturities and you will have different yield or different returns for those maturities. See, we do not say returns, when you come into the fixed income space, you do not say return, you'll just say yield. Okay, so let's look at different yield curves. Different yield, different yield, or you can say types of yield curves. Types of yield curve. Okay, so in general, there are three types of yield curves. Okay, that is normal yield curve. Then you have flat yield curve, and then you have inverted yield curve. And like each of them has different meaning. Okay, each of them has different meaning. So let's understand what is a normal yield curve. Okay, what is a normal yield curve? See, a normal yield curve is a upward sloping yield curve. Okay, what is a normal yield curve? It is a upward, sorry, it is a upward sloping yield curve. Okay, so how does it looks like? Let me show you. So it will be something like this. You have yield here and you have your maturity here. Okay, one more small correction. It will be like this. Oops. This will be the shape. Okay, this is what. Okay, this is what this normal yield curves look like. It will be a upward sloping. Okay, it will always be a upward sloping yield curve. So what does it mean by a upward sloping yield curve? So if you see, you know maturities will always start from low to high, right? So we have, let's say, a 1 year, let's say it will start from 0. Then we have 1 month, then we have 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, 4 month, and so on, right? 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 12 year, up to it will go up to 30 years. Okay, This maturity will go up till 30 years, and we have different yield for all of them. We have different yield for all of them. So what happens in a normal yield curve is, so what happens in a normal yield curve is long term bonds. If you see, long term bonds offer higher yield as compared to short term bonds. Tell me one thing. This is your 30-year maturity. Okay, and this is, let's say, a one, or let's say your 3 month maturity. Is 3 month bigger, or is 30 year yield bigger? Which yield is bigger? Can you tell? Can you tell which yield is bigger? That's correct. 30 year is bigger, right? So what happens is when the long term bond, so 30 year maturity bond, right? These all will be bonds, okay? These all, it is maturity, but whose maturity? Maturity of bonds, okay? Maturity of bonds, okay? So if you see 30-year maturity bond has a greater yield than a 3 month maturity bond, okay? And that's where you can say that this is a normal yield curve. So what happens is, in a stable economy, okay, or in a healthy economy, in a healthy economy, we always see what? We always see a upward sloping yield curve. Upward sloping yield curve. Is it clear? So is this concept clear? What does it mean by, sorry, a norm, okay, you can say upward sloping yield curve, or you can also say a normal yield curve. Is this concept clear? What does it mean by a normal yield curve? This is how the figure will look like, okay? This is how the figure will look like. So let's see the second shape, which is the inverted yield curve. You by yourself uh, might have understood what does it mean by inverted. See, if this is a normal yield curve which is upward sloping, what will be the inverse of it? A downward sloping, right? So if a normal yield curve is upward sloping, if I'm inverting it, if I'm inversing it, what is the shape that I'll get? The shape that I'll get is downward sloping yield curve. So the shape of an inverted yield curve is nothing but it's a downward sloping yield curve. So what does it mean by a downward sloping yield curve is nothing but it basically means that short-term bonds, short-term bonds offer higher yield than the long-term bonds. So how will the shape of this will look like is something like this. Okay, something like this. So here we have our yield, here we have our maturity. Always remember, on x-axis we have our maturity, on y-axis we have our yield. So if you see, this is, let's say, our 1 month, let's say this is our 1 month maturity, and this is our 30-year maturity. So tell me one thing, which has a higher yield? Does a 1 month has a higher yield, or a 30-year has a higher yield? 1 month, correct? That's right. So 1 month maturity bond has a higher yield than what? Than 30-year bond. And that is what the definition is. If you see, what have I written? Short term bond, which is 1 month, has offers a higher yield than the long term bond. Okay. So so what does it signifies to the economy? What does this shape signifies to the economy? So it basically signifies that a recession or economic slowdown is about to appear. So whenever you see the shape of the curve as this, it basically means that a recession or economic slowdown is about to happen. Okay. So just to summarize, we saw two shapes. One is the upward sloping shape, one is the downward sloping shape, right? So this basically means good economy or stable economy. Okay, stable economy. And what does this mean? That economic slowdown or recession can hit. Okay, or recession can hit the economy. Okay. So now we have the last shape, which is the flat yield curve. So what did we saw up to two shapes we saw? We saw the normal, we saw the inverted. Let's see the flat yield curve. The flat yield curve is nothing but, what do you mean by flat yield curve? It shows similar yields across all the maturities. So what does, so it will have something like this, okay? So something like this, okay? So it will have this hump. If you see, it will have this hump where in the midterms of the maturity, which is basically between which 6 months to 2 year. Okay. So basically, what do I mean by flat yield curve is that a few intermediary maturities, intermediate maturities may have slight slightly higher yield that can cause a slight hump to appear along the flat curve. Is this concept clear to everyone? So what you will see is the yield is almost same for most of them. Okay, most of the maturities. Only for few maturities you'll see a shape like this, a bump shape. A bump shape. Okay. So when do you observe such shape? Okay. So in times of high uncertainty, this is in times of high uncertainty. So just to note, in times of high uncertainty, you will see such shape. Okay. So is this concept clear to everyone? So just to revise, we saw three curves. Okay. This, the normal curve or the upward sloping curve, the downward sloping curve or the inverted curve, or something like this, which is the flat yield curve. Okay. And this is the flat yield curve. Okay. Again, just for all of you to know, the x-axis is for all of them will be maturity, and the y-axis is yield. Okay. So now, let's move on to the thing that where cons actually work, which is the modeling piece. So, now let's start the Nelson Siegel model for modeling yield curve. Okay, so let me stop this recording and let me start a new one.